Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again with another attempt at a reassuring message of GGG nerf manifesto sort of stuff. And I'm going to try and speedrun the fuck out of it to the point where it might be a meme. Let me TLDR real quick for you that wait for the announcement in like a week. I love to be one of those guys that waits and sees and everything, and I do feel like this manifesto is just making people mad before they get to see the full extent of what's coming. I feel like there's going to be a lot coming for the league mechanic, probably new skills, fun new shit that's going to make you want to play the game and forget about some balance changes. But let me rip into these balance changes real quick for the manifesto that was just then released for the Lake of Kalandra League. So if you have, for some reason, not noticed, player power, character power is pretty fucking big and strong right now. There have been buffs and overall, changes and shit that have given a lot of player power, especially in the form of defenses, and you can become basically immune and immortal in very many different ways, and it has currently promoted feeling good in investing in your defenses. Yeah, they've tried to tone that down just a bit here or there. Yes, it all looks kind of overwhelming, but I don't think there's anything that's particularly unjustified. So if we're going through it real quick, defense balance, they're going to try and tone some stuff down. Primarily spell suppress, going to try and become more of a thing for the ranger side of the tree, which is fine. It's less on gear. It's still going to be doable to do with gear spell suppress, but it's more of a ranger thing, hopefully, and it's a bit more on the passive tree. It's still going to be pretty easy to get suppressed if you're on that side of the tree, and you'll invest about the same amount as you used to invest before. It's just going to be a bit less gear intense, and it's trying to promote less spell suppressy on gear for everything else. And if you think spell suppress is mandatory for everything in the game right now, for every character, you're wrong. I played maybe 15 to 20 builds this league, and 10 of them didn't use any spell suppress. There are still ways of getting around damage, and you don't need spell suppress to complete the game. It is a pretty big crutch, but on some characters, if you got low amount of life, your evasion based, some shit, yes, spell suppress feels pretty mandatory. It'll be fine. Don't worry, spell suppress isn't going anywhere. You can still get it. Arctic armor thing basically doesn't do anything. Gives you a bit more damage reduction. It's meaningless. Flesh and stone doesn't do anything. No one's going to use it still. Defiance banner definitely needed a bit of a nerf. It is extremely powerful to scale all of your shit. My current champion's got 60,000 armor, 60,000 evasion. That's kind of aura effect with the Defiance banner and all that. With this nerf, he'd have 55k armor and evasion. It's still fine. It's not going to die, and it's still going to be used in plenty of characters to boost their armor defense a little bit. This is no big deal whatsoever. We knew Defiance banner needed a slight change. Wind dancer thing, I don't know if that's going to change anything. You probably still don't want to take it, but it might be a bit more tempting now. Arrow dancing, I don't think that's going to be taken. It's just a bit too weird and niche. Ward, I don't think this is enough. They're basically making ward so that it's going to recharge a bit quicker. It's not going to be quick enough. It's not going to be useful enough. I don't think it's going to be used with this. It needs to be way quicker, maybe 2 seconds or some shit. Grasping Mail, 100% increased global defense mod. That's just basically for high-end people. I didn't end up using it at all, basically, ever. It's 70 exalts. I think it's fine to get it cut in half. It'll still be pretty powerful, but nowhere near as powerful. And it's only for the highest of end users. No one gives a shit. The big one is Gravicious mod that does life as ES. It being removed and changed to something else means it's going to be a lot harder to get energy shield on a character that's trying to stack a bit of energy shield as well as life, or just get free energy shield as a life-based character. Going to be a bit annoying for some Eldritch Battery style casting and all that shit, in the form of you needing to get energy shield on your actual chest instead of just get it as a single craft. I think it'll still be okay for investment, and for some builds, don't worry about that. 200 to 300 ES on a chest on most characters is going to be about the same as this Gravicious craft if you got about 5k life. It's just making it less overpowered for Ghost Dance combo on HC and all that. It's going to be shit for some people, don't get me wrong, they're going to be mad about it, but I don't think it's the end of the world. Probably the biggest change out of all of this, honestly. Other than that, blind passives, they barely got buffed. Nothing's changing there. Mind over matter, barely no changes there. Maybe more in the future, they say, but these just do nothing, essentially. Just make it so you don't have to wear a chest, but you still have to reinvest that power that you used to invest, whatever. Basically, nothing changes. Fortify going to be much easier to get uptime. These are actually pretty good changes for Fortify. Everything I would have thought you'd need. Duration, easier uptime, easier stacks, all of that. So yes, pretty good changes for Fortify. Big amounts of mad for everyone in minion balance. Basically, they're taking away some minion balance power from the inherent minions and all that, and adding it into some gear later on, and it's still going to be fine. Minions have always been overpowered. They always get some sort of adjustments, and everyone always cries that they're completely unplayable, and yet they're always really good in some form or another. So there is a bunch of changes there. Yes, you can get mad about it. How about you wait and see? You're probably going to be able to play minions, and they're probably going to be very good. So there's just more for you to be able to craft with and more to be able to do with that in the end game, as opposed to just getting to like level 70, maxing your gems, getting some trash gear, and then calling it a day. Some stuff maybe is a bit noticeable, like couple of the necro things got nerfed, and yeah, maybe that's not good, but it gets back in form of power on gear. It'll be fine, I think. And then some minions actually did get buffed. So I think SRS looks like it'll be pretty clean for the early to mid game. Holy Relic looks like it got buffed nicely. Skeleton's got a huge nerf. Apparently they were too good, and yeah, maybe that's all right. And Arakali's Fang got a bit of a nerf. Whatever. Minions will be fine, I think. But yes, you can get mad about it if you really want to, or you can see the history of minions in the past that always been pretty good, probably always going to be good regardless of what changes are happening to it, unless it's literally being deleted, and currently it is not. You then have, I don't know, minions bleed something, Reaper gets a bit better, a bit worse, who the fuck knows. Minion crit strike got a lot harder or weirder to invest in. There's some changes, buffs, nerfs there. So overall, it'll probably be a slight nerf to crit strike for minions and maybe a bit more investment, but I think Absolution crit and some other crits still going to be doable. This was the big one, so -2 to the minion stuff from the necromancer thing. Instead, it's moved to gear, kind of, in the form of a hat. Cool, minion stuff taken care of. Miscellaneous skill and support gem balance. Not a whole lot going on here. To start with, they fixed detonate dead corpse bug nerfs. So couple of corpses had way more life than the rest, and that made detonate dead scaling too easy. That's now being fixed, and then a lot of corpse scaling is being taken away, but the percent that you scale if your corpse is getting improved. Overall, I just then played probably the most powerful build I played, which was the detonate dead cast on crit one. This does not seem like it'll change that build very much. It might be a slight nerf in damage overall. I didn't use the bug specters for a while. I used desecrate with the alt quality, and that was about the same. And then, yeah, ultimately, I don't think it's going to change too much because it is getting a bit more of a buff through gem levels in the end, which is how I used that character. I leveled it up to max anyway. It should still be pretty good scaling. And I even wanted to make a character without corpse scaling, using Inquisitor, using Battle Mage, using a Triale bow, and it still would have been detonate dead, and I think it would have been potentially even more damage. Fire Trap got a bit of a nerf to, 3 levels of buff. It's just basically for RF builds. RF builds still going to be strong. Fire Trap nerf means your single target's going to be a bit worse, but it won't be the end of the world. You still be a very thick character, and it'll probably be fine. Cooldown based, what is this? This is just for Seismic Trap. It's getting a bit of a nerf by the looks of it. These nerfs aren't going to be enough to kill a Seismic Trap meta. Maybe more the Grievous, his enchant, will affect it more just for overall thickness, but otherwise I think Seismic Trap's still going to do lots of damage. Explosive Arrow, slight nerf to its ailment, so to its burn damage. It'll probably still be decent, but not quite as good anymore for the single target. I don't think this is going to kill it, but yep, Ziz might be mad about this one. Cast on Death and Cast on Damage Taken got a bit of a nerf since it didn't when all the spells came up with the buffs. And I think Cast on Damage Taken builds currently that are very meta and overpowered are just going to see a rise in the amount of gear you need to get it to a certain level. And Cast on Death is still going to be able to just destroy everything in one shot. Currently they can carry through Uber bosses and 6-man feared and all that sort of shit. Still going to be able to do that. Maybe a higher gear requirement. Maybe not 6-man carries. Who the fuck knows? It should still be fine. Divine Blessing, extremely powerful with the life tap, where you can just get a free aura and press it every 10 seconds. That's getting removed from life tap, so life-based characters that have full mana reserve can't use Divine Blessing for a free thing anymore. It's a bit annoying, but it's also good that you don't have to press that anymore all of the time. It's pretty fucking annoying to do. So that is definitely a nerf for those types of characters, but a buff in your quality of life not having to press it. That said, Eldritch Battery characters can still use Divine Blessing in this sort of a way for a free aura, and I think that's an indirect power, disparity buff towards Eldritch Battery characters. I'm certainly going to still be doing that and abusing that. Sniper's Mark, small nerf in the form of its mana and flask recovery, but otherwise it's completely fine. Sniper's Mark is amazing, and I'm glad they didn't change the good stuff about it. Hydrosphere, something to do with minions, no one fucking cares. Path of Exile Evolution, feeling underwhelmed, so they reckon they're going to buff some stuff that's not very used. Pretty much worthless buffs across the board. Blazing Salver got a bit better, even though it's very good. Cleave does nothing. Crackling Lance got better for its width. I do like Crackling Lance. It's very strong right now, and it got better playable. Plenty of stuff. Got some minor whatever the fuck. Pretty much nothing else worth mentioning that changes anything except for Sunder. Sunder, I think, should be pretty nice to play, at least on the low to mid end, with a faster wave and a bunch more damage, and that's it. Tricks are going to get a big overhaul. That's going to get revealed with the league announcement and stuff. Juggernaut got changed a little. Overall, it's a pretty good change. It's not something you should be mad about at all. You can still get a lot of life regen on it, especially based off the physical damage incoming, and you can get some more elemental damage reduction. Chieftain's skill for the slam, basically still going to be useless. I don't think that's going to change anything. It's just okay for leveling, and you probably still won't do it for endgame. Pathfinder, Master Alchemist, so they did give Pathfinder's last node on the LE thing 20% increased effect for your magic things. That's pretty cool for sure. Should be a very nice usable thing for some builds. So they've removed the 6 reduced LE damage taken. I mean, that kind of can get balanced out, but that is kind of a nerf for some builds that only get that. So a bit annoying in that regard, just for some of those builds, but overall the 20% effect does make it a bit more interesting. Omni's getting a bit of a nerf. Ashes doesn't get changed. It's still a very niche item. Omni's getting cut in half practically, and it should still be very usable because it's still very powerful to have all these res, all this penetration. Just gets it brought in line a bit. Maybe I think that'll just reduce its cost on the higher end in the first few weeks, but still very usable, still very good. Melting of Flesh got a slight nerf in the fact that it can now have -4 to all max res attached to it. So, you know, if you want to get 90 max res, you need to hit 94 max res. My previous character, this league that I used Melting of Flesh with, ended up hitting 92 or 93 max res, so I went over my cap accidentally, and that means I could have still almost hit 90 max res with the current setup. Otherwise, I mean, even a character right now that has 90 can go, you know, to 86. That's still very strong, very good, very powerful. So I think that's a fair nerf, since it is a very powerful thing. Critical Strike by Brittle, definitely very, very powerful. Gets 15 base crit if you scale it correctly, and that means you can invest basically 0 into crit while having full fucking crit. We all know that's very powerful. We all know that is eventually getting a nerf, and here it is. And I think if it got brought down to 5%, it still would have been doable. It's brought down to 6 at its maximum. Still doable, still good, still usable. The default is now 2, which means Brittle boots only give 2 base crit. That's pretty like mediocre for most builds. Only a few builds are going to be using that now as a bit of a power enhancement, if it really truly makes sense. But otherwise, yeah, Brittle nerf absolutely makes sense. It's still very good and usable. Reservation Mastery was removed from your aura nodes. So if you spec'd into your aura nodes and then went for the Mastery that gave 15%, that's now removed. So it's a bit harder to fit all your auras in. This one's a bit of a kick in the nuts, obviously, because everyone loved fitting all these new powerful auras in, especially defensive-wise. I think it'll still be okay. It's just kind of annoying on the early game because it's harder to fit all your auras in as you're leveling and all that sort of shit, which is kind of when you want to take care of it. I don't think this is going to be the end of the world at all. Maybe you'll have to focus more on a Hellman chart for, you know, like determination, reduced mana or some shit, whereas previously you didn't have to care. I do think this is going to be completely fine in the end, but yes, people are going to be mad about it. They love their auras, and it is a little bit annoying. Masteries basically for auras just suck now, and there's not much point in caring about multiple lines of these auras. I know you can be mad about it. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world, please. Flasks, it's only the ones that give you 7 charges when you take damage, and now getting nerfed to 3 charges maximum for most flasks. That's still going to be pretty damn good and pretty usable. I don't think that's anything to be mad about. Otherwise, nothing else about flasks is changing. You still use them by, you know, the other conventional means. This I've tried out several times. Very fucking powerful. It is pretty OP. You can have just flasks up all the fucking time on some fights. If you got a thick enough character, and with 3 charges I think it'll still be good. There's nothing to be too mad about there. This veiled thing is basically just enough to Corrupting Fever essentially, where you could cast it if it costs like, 15,000 life, and no longer can you do something like that. I guess that kind of sucks. Chainbreaker gets a bit of a rework. I don't know if this is a nerf or buff yet, but I think with enough mana investment and regen, you could actually get probably more rage than you used to, but I'm not too sure. Either way, I think that's completely fine. And damage taken recouped as life, just slightly more options on rare jewels that can have up to 6% recoup as a suffix. I haven't used a rare jewel in like 10 characters. It's really hard to fit those in when you're doing all the other jewels, unique jewels and stuff instead. But yeah, it's nice to have that option. It's definitely going to be more updates and patch notes and stuff, more detail about some areas, Trickster Ascendancy, and Lake Kalandra announcement. So yes, I'm going to try and be the voice of reason after all that quick TLDR. I'm going to try and be the voice of reason and say wait for the announcement. The Lake of Kalandra announcement coming in about a week, bit more than that. There should be probably new skills. There could be a fat new league mechanic that's going to be insane and make everything like really good. I think we did have too much power. You could easily remove a lot of it and still make very powerful characters. Arch Nemesis has been nerfed multiple times and it is manageable right now. I'm personally still a bit annoyed with some of it because it's just annoying to deal with, but it's not that bad to, warrant not wanting to play the game or some shit. But yes, look, I understand and I agree. If you don't get much in the announcement, if there's like not many new skills to really give a shit about, if there's like hardly a league mechanic to play with, if this is basically what the game is going to be looking like next league, just these like adjustments, yeah, it's not much to get excited about. You can get mad and it's probably going to be a bit of a stale league. I can't imagine that actually happening. I do expect some real big pog shit to happen with the Kalandra announcement, so let's wait for that. Let's wait for patch notes and then get mad if it just feels like another little step back and not much fun to be had otherwise. So I'm sorry I've been ranting about this entire thing for the past 4 hours. Voice is a bit done. Hope you guys aren't too mad in general. We could definitely afford to lose a bit of power and still have very powerful characters. Keep in mind, Uber bosses are highly optional and it's not the end of the world if you're not killing some on some characters. In general, the game is in a great state right now. Having a few steps back here or there won't really kill anything for the most part, and I do think Lake Kalandra announcement should have some big things for us. Hopefully some big skills, maybe some melee fucking, I don't know. I doubt they're talking anything about melee at this point, but maybe some other cool shit. Trickster itself could be a very big thing. Anyway, let's put a pause on the mad or non-hype until after the announcements. For now though, hope you guys enjoyed the little video. I'm sorry it was rambly. Thank you for watching and see you next time.